Most people think a flight attendant's biggest challenge is serving drinks at 35,000 feet. But the truth is far more intense and honestly, a lot funnier. The moment the aircraft door opens for boarding, the chaos begins. Someone immediately stops in the doorway to take a selfie while 50 people wait behind them. Someone else tries to shove a suitcase the size of a small apartment into the overhead bin. Then there's the classic, the person who keeps pacing the aisle during turbulence, ignoring the seatbelt sign like it's a suggestion. And through all of this, flight attendants keep smiling, even though inside they're quietly losing their minds. That's what makes this video so interesting. Behind those professional smiles are real human reactions, real frustrations, and a long list of behaviors they absolutely hate but can never say out loud. Being a flight attendant is one of the toughest customer-facing jobs in the world. They're trained for emergencies, medical crises, fires, evacuations, and every unpredictable situation you can imagine. Yet, despite all that training, many passengers treat them like waiters, therapists, babysitters, and complaint hotlines all at once. The intro to this video isn't just about exposing bad passenger behaviors, about understanding what really happens behind the curtain. The truth is, most passengers have no idea how many small habits make the crew's job harder, exhaust them, or even put everyone on the plane at risk. So today we're pulling back the curtain. We're diving into the unfiltered, behind-the-scenes frustrations that flight attendants deal with on every flight. Some of these are funny, some are surprising, and some you've probably done yourself without realizing. Buckle up, because once you hear what's on this list, you'll never look at flying the same way again. Every flight begins long before the engines start, and flight attendants always know exactly what type of day it's going to be the moment passengers begin boarding. The aircraft door opens, and instantly the aisle becomes a battlefield of delays, luggage, and confused travelers. What really frustrates flight attendants is how avoidable this chaos is. Someone steps into the aircraft and freezes, staring at their boarding pass like it's a treasure map, completely unaware that a line of people behind them is growing impatient. Others decide to unpack their whole life right there in the aisle, removing laptops, jackets, headphones, snacks blocking everyone else from advancing. Meanwhile, flight attendants try to keep boarding flowing smoothly, reminding people to step aside or move down the cabin, but their voices often get lost under the noise of rolling suitcases and chatter. Then comes the overhead bin circus. Passengers lift bags that clearly weigh more than allowed, struggle, sigh loudly, slam bins shut, reopen them, rearrange 5 times, and then blame the crew when the doors won't close. Some try to stuff backpacks, duty-free bags, winter coats, and even grocery bags into spaces meant for actual luggage. The crew steps in to help because they have no choice after all. The plane can't take off until everything is safely stored. But each "can you help me" slows the entire flow, piling pressure on the crew to keep the schedule tight. Adding to the chaos are passengers looking for seats like they're solving a puzzle. They walk past their row, realize it 10 rows later, turn around, go back, get confused again, and accidentally block the service area. While this environment is stressful, flight attendants still smile, still greet kindly, still help with bags, and still pretend everything is perfectly calm. But inside, they're counting down the minutes until boarding ends, because once the doors close, the real job begins. Boarding isn't just annoying. It's the moment that tests patience, speed, and professionalism all at once. Its flight attendants secretly breathe a sigh of relief the second that boarding complete announcement plays. Once passengers are seated, you'd think the hardest part is over. But this is when the next wave of frustration begins, especially when it comes to following basic safety instructions. Flight attendants deal with people ignoring rules on almost every flight, and it's one of the things they hate the most because it puts lives at risk. The seatbelt sign turns on, yet someone stands up to grab their bag, use the toilet, or stretch like they're in a yoga class. When the crew politely says, "Sir, please take your seat," they often hear, "I'll be quick," as if speed protects them from turbulence. Then there's the battle of the cell phones. Even after multiple announcements, some passengers keep watching videos, taking calls, or pretending they didn't hear the instruction to switch devices to airplane mode. What many passengers don't understand is that flight attendants can get into serious trouble if safety protocols aren't followed. They aren't trying to control anyone. They're following strict regulations designed to keep everyone safe. And the safety demonstrations? Most people ignore them completely. Some talk loudly, some scroll on their phones, others put on headphones. Yet, in an emergency, these very instructions could save their lives. Flight attendants notice everything: who's paying attention, who's mocking the demo, and who's rolling their eyes. It's frustrating because the crew knows how essential that information is, but they can't force anyone to listen. Another major stress point is seat positions during takeoff and landing. Some passengers refuse to put their seats upright or argue about raising their window shades. They act as if they're being inconvenienced on purpose, not realizing that certain positions are legally required for visibility and safety. And when turbulence strikes, flight attendants often plead with passengers to sit down, only to watch them stand up again to grab something completely unnecessary like a jacket or a snack. For flight attendants, these moments are exhausting not because they're repetitive, but because they're dangerous. They aren't trying to nag, they're trying to prevent injuries. But when passengers ignore simple instructions, it becomes one of the most stressful and silently hit as the flight settles into cruising altitude. The cabin transforms into a world of its own, full of habits that drive flight attendants crazy in quiet but powerful ways. One of the biggest frustrations is the mess passengers create. You'd be shocked at what flight attendants find in seat pockets: used tissues, sticky candy wrappers, spilled coffee cups, crumbs, food containers, even dirty diapers. Seat pockets are not trash cans, yet people treat them like one. And when the crew comes to collect garbage, passengers often ignore them and hold on to trash only to shove it somewhere later. Then there's the issue of personal space. Many passengers believe the entire row belongs to them. They spread out their belongings, take off shoes, rest bare feet against walls or armrests, or let their hair fall over the seat behind them. Flight attendants hate this because it creates discomfort and conflict between passengers, which the crew must then resolve. And of course, some passengers press the call button for things they could easily do themselves, like asking for water 10 minutes after service or calling repeatedly for attention. The galley becomes another battleground. Passengers wander to the back to stretch, talk loudly, block access, or peek over counters while attendants are trying to work. The galley is a workspace, not a lounge, and every time someone stands there, it slows down service and disrupts the flow. The crew never says anything harsh. They remain polite but inside. They're wishing people would just stay in their seats unless absolutely necessary. And then there's bathroom behavior. Some people leave the restroom in a state that flight attendants can't believe a grown adult could create. Wet floors, overflowing tissues, clogged sinks, or even worse. The crew has to deal with it because passengers complain, but it's one of the most dreaded parts of the job. All these small moments build up, flight after flight. It's not one big problem, it's the constant accumulation of little annoyances that slowly drain the crew's energy. They handle everything professionally, but it's these habits machines, crowding unnecessary requests, that flight attendants quietly hate the most. Deep parts of the job. As the flight nears its end, another set of behaviors emerges, the ones that insult flight attendants personally and reveal how misunderstood their job truly is. The biggest frustration is when passengers treat them like servants rather than trained safety professionals. People snap their fingers, wave hands aggressively, or speak with entitlement, as if the crew's only purpose is to serve them beverages. Many passengers don't realize flight attendants go through intense emergency, fire, and medical training, learning how to save lives in situations most people will never face. When someone talks down to them, it's not just rude. It disrespects years of training and responsibility. Another thing they hate is when passengers argue about things completely outside their control. Delays, turbulence, weather, maintenance issues, or gate problems aren't caused by the crew, yet they often face the anger. Some passengers blame them for seat assignments, baggage rules, or even meal shortages, as if flight attendants personally made those decisions. It creates unnecessary conflict and drains morale. And then there are those who try to break rules near the end of the flight, standing before the seatbelt sign turns off, opening bins early, or rushing forward the moment wheels touch the runway. These behaviors are dangerous, yet passengers act like the crew is overreacting when they ask them to stay seated. What frustrates flight attendants the most is when passengers forget that respect goes both ways. The crew works long hours, deals with hundreds of personalities, solves problems non-stop, and carries the responsibility of keeping everyone safe. When a passenger shows kindness or appreciation, it genuinely changes the atmosphere. But when someone is rude, dismissive, or entitled, it becomes one of the most emotionally draining parts of the job. By the time the plane taxis to the gate, flight attendants have handled safety tasks, service, conflict management, emergencies, complaints, and endless chaos, while maintaining a calm, friendly appearance. What they want most is simple: respect for the job they do and awareness of the challenges they face. And once passengers understand this, flights become easier, smoother, and far more pleasant for everyone on board.